I am Trash Robot, and I'm going to give you a tour of a Trash Magic server. So this is a Trash Magic server that I have live at sloanslake.art, and if I just put that into the browser, and I do not have HTTPS, it's just HTTP, no S, / sloanslake.art. So that's where it is right now. And that's just an old laptop that has Ubuntu running on it, which is a free operating system. It's a type of Linux. And that's the trash server, right? So I want other people to copy that and then copy the whole thing. All right, so what do we have here? So if I scroll down, you got notice, first of all, that there's a look. There's a look to this. And that look is part of what the Trash Magic system is. That look is the maximalist rainbow colored links. If you see the links, if I scroll, you see how they're like a rainbow coloration, and they're just like big, huge block fonts, a lot of all caps, black background, and then this like sort of typewriter font in these paragraphs that has, it's supposed to have kind of like an adventure game feeling. And then the googly eyes, if I do Control R to reload, the googly eyes change every time. That's some JavaScript that I have. That's all part of the Trash Magic library, which I'll go to later, but never mind that. So there's a bunch of code. And then if I scroll down, I look at all the links. So first of all, notice that there's a map. That is a map to a physical place, an actual lake, a public space. And that's what we're trying to do with this network, is to connect physical spaces out in the real world, shared spaces where we engage with other people and where we can exchange physical goods. We try to connect those back to the server. So I've got a map here, and then there's media that I put in these different locations that are marked on the map. And so for instance, here you see that if I scroll down, right, that's the computer sitting on a power supply that has grid power that's out where that little marker is. So look, you can, and then if you want to see where that is, there's a link here, link to map to the place with the things. And if I click on that, it goes to openstreetmap.org, and you can see where that is. So if I scroll it out, there's a lake, there's Denver, and then there's Colorado, and there's the United States, North America, and the world. So I can zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. I'm on the western suburbs of Denver, just over the border, or just next to the border to Lakewood. And there it is. There's a physical location. If I go to that physical location, I'm going to see little bits of art around, spores. So then there's information on the spores down here. And the way this all connects, so I'm going to show how this connects with Replicate server. If I click on that, it goes to github.com/lafelab/trashmagic. This is the self-replicating code that replicates onto the trash server. The code's all on here, along with a script which copies all the other programs. It copies the whole thing. It's a self-replicating collection of things. And this is also self-replication. So you see here that I've got these QR codes. If you take that and you print that, you send that to a printer, and you cut it up, each one of those QR codes links back to this repository that has the QR code. So the QR code is self-replicating, and the code is self-replicating because each one of the servers has a copy of all the code that's in this GitHub repository. And then if I scroll down, there's like, okay, this links back to itself. It links back to sloanslake.art, to trashrobot.org, that's me. And then there's a link to a TikTok where the TikTok shows how to replicate the cardboard spore. So if I scroll down, there's these spores that I make that are like made out of golden rectangles that you connect to make an icosahedron. And so, right, and there's also the cart. So this is all part of the system. There's a what you see in the cart is a Raspberry Pi based web server, and I can push that around in a grocery cart with a solar panel. There's a solar panel in the bottom there, and that's part of the system. So you've got the field. If I'm in the field with the grocery cart, if I have a Wi-Fi hotspot, I can have a Wi-Fi hotspot with my mobile phone. then I can use that server to connect through the web browser to the home server, to the home trash server, which is just a laptop that's connected to the internet. And this also has the robot. There's a printer robot here. This printer robot prints onto cardboard trash. So you have cardboard trash, and then there's also other kinds of media. So everything is designed to self-replicate, and the way you do that is with recursion. Everything references back to itself. So this is a GitHub repository that has a photograph of a physical piece of cloth that I take out to a physical space by Sloan's Lake, and then I can go to that space, I can go to that actual place, and there'll be bits of cardboard that have QR codes that link back to this, but then they will also, and if somebody wants to talk to the operator, here's the operator. This is me with my trash robot pants and my trash robot sweatpants and my trash robot bicycle going around the neighborhood. Then I go to Dunkin' Donuts, and you can find that Dunkin' Donuts. It's right across the street from Sloan's Lake. So this connects all these dots. This is the web server. It says, I love trash, I love trash. That is one of the web servers sitting on the public Wi-Fi that they have at that Dunkin' Donuts. So, all of this is intended to be self-replicating. Somebody can be watching this, and you can go get another laptop out of the trash, make another field Trash Magic server, and take it to the Dunkin' Donuts, and then this thing will have replicated. So this is all right. So let's go back to sloanslake.art. So I'm going to scroll up, sloanslake.art. Here it is. And then I'm going to scroll down. Let's take a look at some of the different things that are on here. First of all, I'm going to look at the zines. So if I click on zines, there's all these zines. This links to PDFs. And the way this works is that I have a thumb drive with PDFs on it, and I use that thumb drive to go up to the server and drag and drop PDFs into a folder called zines, inside another folder called media. And when I do that, it becomes visible to the world. That's it. It's published. It's very simple. It's very physical. Somebody can come up to me in the park and hand me a physical zine, and I will scan each page of that zine into a PDF, and then I'll put that PDF on the thumb drive, and that can go onto my Trash Magic server, but can go into anybody else's Trash Magic server as well. I click on Elements. Elements is a list of elements of Trash Magic, and this is a very philosophical thing of like, we are creating self-replicating sets of things, and those things include all these different things. So there's Jupyter notebooks. That's how we do a bunch of science. There's Arduino. There's shopping carts. If I click on shopping carts, and it's just a description of shopping carts. We find shopping carts. They exist all over the place. Everywhere you look, there's a shopping cart abandoned on the side of the road, and we can put physical media in those. We can put web servers that we get out of the trash in the shopping carts and push them around, have solar panels. You can put a huge solar panel on top of a shopping cart, and then you can run the things, keep them off grid, and you can run mesh networks on those laptops as well. And if you have USB connected Wi-Fi extenders that connect to those laptops, then you can make nodes in a mesh network. You can have both web servers and mesh network nodes that are all on the shopping carts that you push around. And where do you push them around? By the lake. And the lake. And this is all self-replicating. So the idea is that you see this and say, geez, I don't live in Denver. I'm not anywhere near this random lake in Denver, Colorado. It doesn't matter. That's what I mean by self-replicating. What you do is you go to the lake or the river or the stream or the bridge or the culvert or the tunnel or the harbor, the park near where you are, and you find a space out there. You find a space that you think you can exchange physical things with people, and you start putting media on cardboard there, and you go get a laptop that somebody's throwing away, and you put a free operating system on it, and you put a web server on it, and you put the Trash Magic server on that web server, and then you start publishing stuff onto your server that connects to your neighborhood, and you buy the domain, which is www.nameofyourlocalparkthing.art or .org or .xyz or .net, and then you start writing that on cardboard with a magic marker, and then you use that cardboard to create geometric constructions that transmit the idea of self-replicating geometry because it links back to everything else. So everything points to everything else, and everything is self-replicating. You hear this, and then you go and you get a domain and you get a server, and you start connecting all this up. All right, so let's take a little bit more of a tour of the system. I'm going to scroll down. We got zines, books, music, videos. These are all the same basic thing, where you take media and you drag and drop it into a folder, and you drag it and drop it in that folder, it becomes visible. I click on books. These are PDFs of a bunch of ebooks. I got a whole bunch of ebooks here that I got from various places, including my books. And then I'm using this to replicate my books. I'm trying to get people to read my books, and my books will replicate freely as the system replicates. So domains, servers, community, QR code. So the QR code, this is an app that we have, qrcode.html. If I put something in here, like radio.garden, https://radio.garden. Boom, there it is. All right. So I can take that QR code and screenshot it, and then boom, I got a QR code. So one of the things that's always built into our system is the ability not just to make QR codes, but to make huge arrays of QR codes, because that's really useful for making self-replicating media. You can make a huge array of QR codes that all link back to some piece of media, and then you can use that to replicate the media with physical stuff, and you can do that with trash, right? You can take anything. You could take whatever information you're trying to replicate and use that QR code to replicate it, and then you can make it trash magic by just taking Elmer's glue and running around with the Elmer's glue and these QR codes and slapping them onto pieces of trash. And then that piece of trash becomes self-replicating media over the web. So anyway, this is, where am I? I'm back here, email the operator. So this is an email link that emails me, but when you replicate it, you're going to change that. You're going to go, there's a code editor at editor.php. This is the code editor. So you see in our code, this is index.html. I'm editing SalonesLake.art right now. Everything, and anybody can edit anything. There's no security, there's no users, no passwords, there's no data, it's just self-replicating code. So here it is in the code. Everything is physical, everything is fractal, everything is recursive. No money, no mining, no property. Look at the fungi, look at the insects. Language is how the mind parses reality. Everything is public domain. I scroll down, I've got a favicon, that's the trash favicon. And then there's some shit to stop Google because we don't want Google seeing any of this. There's trashmagic.js and trashmagic.css. Those are the styles. So I can scroll down here in the lower right and see all this stuff. So here's trashmagic.css. I've got this has the whole thing for the fonts to make everything look a certain way. So there's not much to it. I'm horrible with CSS. But it doesn't matter, because if I can make self-replicating CSS, then that self-replicating thing isn't going to be as good as I can do. It's going to be as good as the best person on the network, whoever's stuff replicates. So here we go to jscode/trashmagic.js. It's JavaScript library. It's got all this. It's got JavaScript code for going around the color wheel. So that's a whole part of this design ethos with the rainbows, is that we take a tour 360 degrees around the color wheel, and we do it in JavaScript. So it's a very mathematical thing, but it's, whatever. Don't worry about the math war. So then there's also, if we take a look at some of the other stuff in here, I'm just going to take you a little bit of a tour through the code. Replicator.php is a PHP script which uses something called dna.text, which I can put this in. So if I put in dna.txt, this is a JSON file that's like the DNA. It's like it's the metadata for the replicator or something like that. It's like tells you it tells the replicator how to replicate, like what things to copy. So anyway, here's index.html. You're going to change the operator email to be operator at your server.art or your server.net or whatever it is. And that's it. And that's how we replicate, right? I'm replicating a set of things. And one of those things is me, the operator of this network node. One of those things is the server, which is just a laptop plugged into the wall with with port forwarding so that can be a web server. And then buying the domain that connects to some physical space, taking cardboard that you find around you and turning the cardboard into physical media, and then taking that physical media out into that physical space, making maps that connect to it, and then putting those maps on the web, and then connecting, this is physical hypertext. We are making links between physical spaces, physical media in the form of that comes from trash, both web servers and cardboard, and we're just connecting all this stuff up to make a self-replicating swarm. So that's a little bit of a tour of the system, but I also want to show you some things about how Geometron is part of this. So this is symbol.html, and I'm just going to very quickly go through like a little bit of how Geometron works. So I can move this cursor around, and I can like, as the cursor moves, you can see it's going to tell you something about what kind of a thing it's going to draw. So you have to read the book of Geometron to really understand what this is all about. But hi there. I can like, let's see. Yeah, this is the robot font. So this is the Geometron language. The Geometron language is what's going to drive this as we take all of this stuff to the next level and start really making geometric. This is how my robots work. This is how all of my graphics works. Everything runs on this geometric programming language called Geometron, which is described in the book of Geometron, which is a free book that you can download from my website at trashrobot.org, and also there is a hard copy for sale. So, and then there's a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot here. There's like a whole thing about symmetry. So like if I go like this, I can show you how to make a hexagon really quickly. And then if I bisect the angle, and then so if I wanted to like make a triangle inside of a hexagon, I was able to do that very easily because the square root of 3 is built in. So like this sort of thing. You can see that there's a lot going on here geometrically. If I do, okay, so that's fine, that's hexagons. But if I go like this, we get a pentagon. And now I want to go the golden ratio instead of the square root of 3, and I go like that, and boom. Okay, now I can make a pentagram in a pentagon, and I can change colors. Crazy things happen. So this is based on the golden ratio. And then I can also do things with the square root of 2. Like this. Oh. Boom. Boom. That's the square root of 2. So you see, and then if you look in the left-hand side of the screen, you can see what the code is. This is all Geometron code. Geometron code, each geometric action is represented by a geometric symbol which is created using a sequence of Geometron actions. And all of this exists in the Geometron Hypercube. Here's the Geometron Hypercube. It has this whole geometric meta language, which then gets used to create a geometric language. So this has things in here that's like, these are the symbols that if you send to a laser cutter, you can make the tools of action geometry out of acrylic. That's what these are for. Or you can use these to make, actually, I'll just go back to the main page here. show you how we actually use this. So if I go like that, here are some shapes. These are things that if you watch any of my videos or whatnot, you can see that these are the shapes of Action Geometry, and I make these physically. And this is, again, how we connect the physical with the digital. This is all running in JavaScript and HTML, but it becomes physical when I use a laser cutter to cut it out on neon green acrylic, 1/8" neon green acrylic, and then you use those to go do the geometric constructions in the cardboard, which you take out to the physical space, which has the domain on it, which points back to the server, which documents the whole thing, including this. So like right now, I'm showing you this on a Trash Magic server. Okay, and I can use that, anywhere in the world. I can connect to this over the internet and then use it on any local laser cutter that I happen to have access to. If I were to my friend's house who has a laser cutter, boom, we can just do it. Okay, so I zero that out, and then let's look at some of the other things I can make. There's a ruler, and then there's these guys, which are pretty cool. If I send that to a laser cutter with cardboard, I can use it to fabricate 4-inch cardboard cubes, which we can put dirt in, and then we can grow plants in those, and fungi. And also fill them up with all kinds of different things. So that's a whole thing. And then if I were to save this and then I go here, there's a symbol feed. If I go to the symbol feed, it's taking a minute, but like this shows all these different things that I've created. It's a funny kind of a social media. There's no users. Okay, there's no logins, there's no passwords. It's just a bunch of files. And those files, what are they? They're not silly memes. This isn't 4chan. What are they? They're a bunch of things that you use to make physical stuff out of trash. It's geometry that you can fabricate out of trash. And then there's a bunch of other art here, stuff like that. And if I click on one of these, so let's say I click on this, and then I go back here, it's loaded it up. See, I just loaded that up. I can go through here, and now I can start editing the code. You can see how this works like that, okay? That's Trash Magic. I save it, and then I go back to the feed, and boom, there it is! Okay, so yeah, and then this is some chaos magic that you use to replicate the symbols. I'm not going to get into that right now. There's all of this. There's a JSON file that has all this data in here. This is all, everything. JSON is part of our system of self-replicating media. So I go up here and I go back to Trash Magic. And so, yeah, all right, let's take a look at, we've got a local web. And the local web has all these different web pages. Like here's the local Dunkin' Donuts. I go back here, it's like Platonic Solids. Stone Shins. Stone Shins is a user who's got some just beautiful art. I love this. They got TikTok Mastodon. Okay, home. Go back here. Trash Robot homepage. Oscar the Grouch. Magic Trash Can. So we click on Magic Trash Can, and there's a trash can. And I click the screen. Now there's 2 trash cans. I click the screen. There's 4 trash cans. There's 8 trash cans. 16 trash cans, and then I click again, it's 32 trash cans. I click it again, it's 64 trash cans. I click it again, it's 128 trash cans. That's enough trash cans. So we're gonna stop that. So we're gonna go back home. I can't go home. There's too many trash cans. I broke the internet. Okay, so I go back down here, and then there's a tutorial, and the tutorial tells you how to make your own web page on sloanslake.art. And then when you copy this, it's going to copy the tutorial as well. So your thing is you can go make your own tutorial, which you copy onto your server, which shows how people can make personal home pages. And the personal home pages will have this simple format. It's just links and text and headings. It's very simple. Links, text, headings. That's enough. That's enough to build a web, a Trash Magic web. All right, so let's go back to sloanslake.art, and then we go down, and there's the web, replicate server, email. That's pretty much it. That kind of gives, well, okay, that's not quite it, because there's also operator.html. So operator is the whole thing. So this is a bunch of these icons. So if I click on, let's say I want to take sloanslake.art. I want to click on that, and then I'm going to save this. And having saved it, now I can go here, and it says sloanslake.art. And so this is a 3D thing that this can be used as an asset in a game or a 3D whatever. You can send it to a 3D printer, so we can 3D print these. Ideally, we should be getting filament that we make from trash, 3D printer filament, and then use the 3D printer to print with the trash filament one of these 3D printed parts that's got the icon on it. And this is all in Geometron as well. And that code also goes to the Geometron robot. So like if I click on one of these, you see in the lower right hand corner, there's a bunch of Arduino code. I can copy paste that Arduino code onto the robot brain, which is an Arduino, and the robot will print the same icon on trash, that big trash robot that you push around in the shopping cart. Okay, so we go back home. sloanslake.art! And then I go down and it's like, all right, how are we going to replicate this? We scroll down and there's going to be a replicator at the bottom, replicate server, and this is going to tell you how to replicate the server. So I think, and then you print the QR codes, you start slapping those onto trash, and then the trash replicates the whole thing. And then I'm going to take this YouTube and I'm going to embed it in all the other files, so everything is recursive.